Welcome in to episode 8, week 8 of the Gustavo Cup Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Sean Ballek, and welcoming back my co-host, Ian Siddiqi. Welcome back, brother.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Had to take a week off my paternity leave from the Gustavo Cup. Just super happy, overjoyed with our son at home. And I guess if I could take anything away from the experience thus far, it's that Evan is gay.
Yeah, that
It
caught
just
on like
resonates.
wildfire.
Yeah.
The Hayes and the new guy caught on like wildfire, and I think at one point it was 9 teams, eight or 9 teams in the league that had changed their name to that.
Yeah, just very, very convincing stuff from the league. Yeah. So, Evan, it's all in good fun, brother. We're just razzing you up a little bit. Glad to have you in the league.
Yeah, pretty funny stuff. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
So what are you drinking this week?
I am not currently drinking. I probably should have some water. I will drink this. What's today? Listen, all my days are like blended together since like the last week and a half. Like I don't know what day it is. Like I don't know what time it is. I'm up every 3 hours for like feedings and like burping. Life is wild right now. So yeah, it's Friday. I probably should have like a glass of vino or something. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Maybe the wife still has not had a drink since since labor, so maybe she'll want to have a nice glass of wine tonight. We'll see. That would be nice. So maybe some wine today. Over the weekend, not quite sure. It will probably be a lot of the same in the Siddiqi household.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, y'all are still. You got a newborn, so I'm sure it's not
True.
not a priority. Well, I got
Yeah.
Topo Chico today, so I'm going NA as well.
Beautiful.
It's still early.
It is still early.
So, but let's get into this, man.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I do not have much time, so we'll definitely hop into it. And yeah, just you want to do a quick overview of where standings are at currently.
Yeah, we're halfway through the regular season.
Yes, sir. Halfway through.
So we got after week 7, we got Schloff in first place at 6-1. Mike Medina in second, tied with Bizzo and Mark at 5-2. I am the top of a 4-way tie for 4th at 4-3. So that is me, Ralph, and I think that's you. I think that's you, and then Kyle. And then there is a two-way tie for 8th and 9th with Jeremy and Steven. And then Nick by himself at 10th. Mark and Evan tied for last at 1-6.
Nice. That is the overview. A lot of shifting around, a lot of moving.
Yeah, we got Mishloff on a 5-game win streak, Ralph on a 3-game win streak, and yeah, those two have put it together and put themselves up there in the standings. And then Jeremy and Steven both on 4-game losing streaks with dropped them from, I think they were undefeated when they went on those 4-game losing streaks. So yep, they were definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Steven started out the season 4-0, or excuse me, 3-0, and then has obviously dropped 4 games now in a row. And then also we had Mike, who was 5-0, but's lost the last 2 games with some tough matchups. Still league leading in terms of points scored at 859. A lot of things to watch here. A lot of movement.
Yeah, there is, and there's plenty more to come too. So
absolutely. So let's look into things from last week. We'll start with my matchup, going up against Mr. Steven Wiggins. Really, it was a Monday. It came down to Monday night for me. Niners versus Minnesota. Had Addison going, had Hawkinson going, as well as had my boy McCaffrey going. All three having stellar nights, putting it all together for me, pulling out the W pretty handedly. But yeah, I mean, still some things that need some improvement on this team. Still shallow at wide receiver. However, Addison with Jefferson out has clearly become the number one option in Minnesota. So I'm happy with the moves that he's made. I'm happy he's finally getting the attention that he deserves. McLaurin obviously is the number one option in Washington, but it's just the consistency of that offense that's really problematic for me. One of the spots people may not look at on my team that I'm really impressed with is actually Pacheco. We've talked about this Chiefs offense being different than what it has been in the past, but consistently in the flex spot, putting up that 12 to 15 range every now and then, popping off with like a 20+ point game. Really happy with Pacheco this year. And yeah, so I think that even with Steven having a stellar game from Mahomes, 44 points against 16 from Stafford, we just saw he wasn't able to put together with the rest of his team. Having Elliott and Madison and that running back spots, they just aren't top tier running backs consistently. So the fact that you're having to start both of them is a little problematic. And I think that my team's putting it together. There's a couple of improvements we can make. And unfortunately, I think that Wiggins' team is a little bit on the decline. He's gonna have to make some moves to become relevant.
Yeah, I don't know about that. He's 3-4, so he's not out of anything. But he has Devontae Smith, who just has been pretty terrible as of recent. Just hasn't been able to put a decent game up. And then Alexander Madison really disappointed for him this week. And then he also had Dameon Pierce and Breece Hall on a bye. So he has those running backs. Madison and Zeke aren't in his lineup every week. He's going to have Dameon Pierce and Breece Hall in there every week. He's not. I don't think he necessarily has to make a move. Obviously it probably would help him too, but he's still got a solid team. If they start performing like they can, he's still got a team that can compete with everybody. You got big weeks that Addison looked awesome on Monday night when he ripped the ball out of the defender's hands.
It's insane.
Jogged in and was like, peace.
Against my Niners, unfortunately, but yeah, it was.
But
it was the highlight. It was the highlight.
It was delicious. I liked it a lot.
Of course. Of course. So let's quickly run through some of these other matchups from last week. We had let me go back to last week. We had, I hope both teams have fun. Mr. Sean Ballek going against Mike, pulled out the W. Both kind of a low scoring contest for you two, but you definitely pulled it out. Mishloff also had the luck of playing against Mark last week. He only put up 88. So his streak continues with only putting up 92. Jeremy and Bizzo's team led by Mark. Great showing by both teams. But yeah, Bizzo's team is just good. It's a great team week in and week out. And let's see, we had all these Evan is gay. It's like, who's who? So we had Evan.
It throws you off.
So we had Evan going against Ralphie getting the W. And then also so then we have Nick going against Kyle Kiesel, pulled out the W, top score for the week with 139. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, that was a big week for him and Kyle's team. I don't know what happened to them this week. Oh, yeah, I do. Goff and a couple other Goff and Eckler had really bad weeks. And then I got pretty lucky going against Mike. Mike's team underperformed. My team did okay. They were a little bit under projections, but a win's a win. the Mishloff and Mark matchup and the Ralph and Evan matchup. I was rooting for the guys at the bottom of the standings in those, but
Absolutely.
that, like we talked about earlier, Mishloff's on what, a 5-game win streak, 6-game win streak, 5. Yeah, must be nice.
Yeah, right. So let's take a quick look at some of the fab offers this week, as well as some of the added players.
Schloff grabbed Daryl Henderson for 26, and I don't think anybody else put a bid on him. Schloff grabbed Deontay Foreman for 25, and I don't think anybody else put a bid on him. I think that's why it's not coming up in the fab offers.
Interesting.
And then I think that's Nick grabbed the Jets defense for 2.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's the only fab money that was spent this past week. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was interesting. Like, you could see people making moves like early in the morning or late at night, and everyone was just popping up. My phone just kept blinking. Evan is gay. Evan is gay. Dropped so and so. Evan is gay. Picked up Dalvin Cook. Hilarious. Yeah, so let's look at this week's matchups. We got some really interesting stuff. We can start with my matchup against Mr. Evan himself. Gonna be an interesting week because that Rams defense, or excuse me, that Rams offense going against that Dallas defense in Dallas, gonna be a tough matchup for Stafford, even with those really, really talented wide receiving core that he has in LA. Still gonna be really challenging. I do like the fact that Josh Allen has already played on Evan's team, right? So pretty much his best player on his team, the guy that is going to have the most points, already put up his numbers, and it's a big number, but it lets me know what I have to do on my end, right? So still have a slight advantage. I think it's like 42-58 advantage, but I know I'm in the hole, right? I'm in the hole. Allen has put 10 points above what he's projected, so my team has to step up. I'm hoping Addison and Hawkinson can continue on that success from last week against a really mediocre Green Bay defense, and I definitely expect that. McCaffrey going into Cincinnati, we're not sure Purdy's going to play. He is on concussion protocol. That means heavy workload for McCaffrey. Going against Cincinnati, in San Francisco, back at home after a terrible two games on the road. And then one of my favorite matchups, we got Pacheco in Denver. Weather conditions supposed to be suspect. You know what that means? Hand the rock off. Who's it going to? Pacheco. So yeah, across the board, we got Tyson Hill in the tight end spot. There was a lot of movement with Tyson Hill this week. They got him in the tight end spot now. We'll see how that plays out with some of the injuries in New Orleans. The majority of that offense revolves around Kamara since he's been back. So we'll see how it plays out. New York Jets, showing some life in the absence of Aaron Rodgers, and they have a really soft matchup against the Giants this week. Crosstown rivals. Going to be really interesting to see if they try to get Wilson the ball early. There's a lot of question marks with this matchup. I don't think it's going to be a blowout despite records. My team has had the benefit of some great matchups through the year thus far, not having to put up the most amount of points to get W's. However, this is going to be a situation where I think my team's going to have to score in order to pull out the W here. Also, going back to Evan's team real quick, Taylor finally starting to get the workload that's expected in Indiana. So yeah, a lot of question marks. Of course, I'm gonna vote for myself, but yeah, I expect it to be a good matchup.
Yeah, we missed the pick'em because we're recording on Friday, so we can't. That's out this week.
Yeah, so we got jot that
the
down.
matchup's all already started.
Gotcha.
But
right.
I really like you talked about. You really like that Evan had Josh Allen go early. I really like that he did too, because I think that Josh Allen revenge game against you for trading him away. He puts up 33. That's big. He's also got T. Higgins with that revenge game against you. So coming off the bye, they've had time to prepare for San Francisco, who hasn't been playing that well recently.
That Vikings receiving core ripped them a new ass last week, and that's my team. So I mean,
Yeah.
Higgins is prime for a big week if they don't step up. If they don't step to the plate.
Taysom Hill has been good recently. Like the week before didn't show it, but he had 8 targets, 7 receptions.
Yeah.
And he's also a goal line running back for that team. Like if they use him, if they keep using him the rest of the season, like they used him on what was it, Thursday night last week, or was it Monday night? I
They
think it was
played
Thursday.
night.
I think they
Jackson.
played last Thursday. Yeah. So if they keep using him like that, Taysom Hill could be a really good pickup for Evan, and his team could get a real big boost from that. I think he's got a shot against you this week.
Yeah.
You talked about Green Bay's defense. They don't give up a lot to receivers, so I'm assuming they give up a lot to running backs. Bijan's going against Tennessee, who also doesn't give up a lot to running backs. So you have some tough matchups. Looks like the Eagles give up a bunch of points to receivers, so you got McLaurin in a good matchup there. But I think Evans has a good shot against you this week.
I do as well. I do as well. I'm gonna obviously go with myself, but I think that his team could prime out a W here.
Yeah, I think they can. I think that Josh Allen number is motivation for that team that keeps them in it and trying to get him a victory.
Absolutely.
You better have some inspirational speeches for them on Sunday when they get started for your team.
Dude, I'm pulling out that it's the Oregon coach's speech. They're here for highlights. I'm here for whatever. Anyway, when they're playing Colorado. So yeah, let's go on to the next matchup. We got you going against old roomie, battle of the roomies, Mr.
Yep.
Mishloff. Battle of the Seans, actually, right? Sean Ballek versus Sean Mishloff. Sean, when did you add Dustin there? That's funny.
I don't like I just invited him to be a co-manager, so whenever he accepted it, it put it on there. Yeah, me versus Sean. I get to play the first place team for the second week in a row, which is always nice on the schedule. It
Fun stuff.
kind of sucks. So Diggs, he put up an okay game last night. Nothing special. So that's a little disappointing for me. I was hoping he would have a big night on Thursday, but Trevor Lawrence hasn't been very good all season. Mishloff benched him last week, and it worked out for him. But Trevor Lawrence hasn't been very good. I think I got some good matchups here. I'm going to take myself. But man, I have my running backs, and my running backs are beat up, man. Jerome Ford, David Montgomery, both hurt. Hopefully, I mean, Brian Robinson, the Eagles give up the fewest points to running backs. Javonte Williams, I think Kansas City, 5th fewest points to running backs. So 2 running backs that aren't really that good to begin with. They're okay. They're RB2, RB3s, and they're in like the worst matchups they can have. So it's not looking good for me. But
yeah, unfortunately, it's not looking too good for you. Robinson going against that Philly defense is going to be a tough going. Also, not sure how much Dimmer's going to be running the ball when KC goes up 21 in the first half. It's going to be a tough matchup for you. Andrews has made a surgence. Diggs, unfortunately, Gabe Davis got the majority of the looks on Thursday. I know you're expecting a big night out of him in order to be competitive this week. On the other end of the tape, that it's going to be fun. Mishloff's probably going to zero in a lot in that Miami New England game because he has points scored on every possession of the ball, both Mostert and Stevenson going. Weather, watch out for weather in that game. Can end up being a very much a running affair. And then obviously Kupp has been doing his thing since he's been back from injury. I do like Mishloff's team this week, not because I think they're going to put up some crazy number. I think it's better matchup wise. I think he's going to pull out the W.
Yeah, I was looking into this a little deeper. Maybe hopefully CJ Stroud can have a big game coming off the bye week for me, but he's got Baltimore's defense and Justin Tucker going against Arizona, and Baltimore's defense looks really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's rough for me too. But any given Sunday, right?
Any given Sunday, right about that. Next matchup, we got Jeremy and Nick. Both really great managers. Both of them had some play, running back play on Thursday night. We saw White out of the backfield with Tampa Bay catch a ton of balls. He looked really good. Cook got some garbage time yards. Overall, I expected this to be a really good matchup. I love what Baltimore is doing with Lamar Jackson these last few weeks, allowing him to do his thing, stay in the pocket, throw when he needs to, and then use his feet when the time calls. Other end of the tape, Geno Smith. What a turning career last year. They really ruled that guy out, and now he's leading a team. They made the playoffs last year. They're not a Super Bowl contender in my opinion, but they're a very decent football team, and so I'm proud of Geno Smith. Um, Barkley against that Jets defense with Nick. We'll see how that plays out. He's been in trouble with injuries throughout the year, so it's going to be a tough matchup. My favorite player this year happens to reside on Jeremy's team, and that is Adam Thielen. I feel like he represents us 30-plus-year-old guys, that can still compete with these young guys out there. I love the fact he's having a career year in Carolina with not the best quarterback play, but just being the week in, week out, constant on that offense, right? You throw his percentage of catch per target ratio is through the roof. If you throw within a 3-foot radius of that man, he's catching the ball this year. It's amazing to see. So yeah, I think with the matchups, right? Geno Smith against Cleveland, you got Lamar Jackson against Arizona, Nakua against Dallas, Hill in New England with the weather concerns. I think Nick gets it done this week. I'm gonna go ahead and say Nick this week.
You're gonna take Nick this week, huh?
Yes, sir.
Jeremy's team just no momentum. He's on a 4-game losing streak. Nick just finally got off of a losing streak, but disappointing game from James Cook. Rashad White already got Jeremy a nice little lead. Your favorite player, Adam Thielen, has looked really good this season. And I don't Lamar Jackson has just been too good. Is Tyreek Hill playing? I heard something that he might not play. Oh, he is cleared to play.
He's playing.
So
he had a hip issue.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Nick takes it down this week. I think his team is really good. He had got a couple losses and some bad matchups. So, but I think I beat Nick and I put up the most points in the league, and he put up the second most. So his record, I don't think, is a reflection of his team, and I think his team gets a good win this week against Jeremy.
Nice. Good call. Next, we have Mark and the Bridge crew going against the other Mark and Bizzo's team. Mark.
What are their team? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Talked a little bit about Gabe Davis going off on Sunday. He had something like 12 targets, 9 receptions, touchdown, 90 yards. Yeah, great start to the week for a low end or WR2, WR3 that Davis is. Still has AJ Brown going against that terrible, not terrible Washington defense, but going against that Washington defense. We've seen what Kirk Cousins has done all year. They may not, their record as a team is not an indication of how well Cousins has done as a fantasy football quarterback. And he's done great. Kelsey, we already know the story with him. As long as T Swift is in the audience, he's scoring 2 touchdowns, going to get you 20 points week in, week out. On the other end of the tape, Mark's team has really struggled this year. I definitely love the play of Herbert. I think he could finish as a top 1-2 quarterback in fantasy land this year. Looks really good. The rest of his team has been coming into its own, to say the least. We've seen some progression with Gibbs. We've seen some progression with Olave, Laporta as well, the rookie tight end. We've seen some progression there. I just don't think they got enough this week to get it done, right? Against Mark's team, Stockton Mark's team. We'll see. And I'm not sure these are final lineups either. You got Ayuk in the lineup, potentially with with Purdy not playing. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm gonna take Mark Stockton Mark in this lineup, Mark Almondson in this lineup, in this matchup.
Mark and Bizzo.
Yep.
All right. You're taking Mark and Bizzo. I really like his team or their team. Cousins has been great this year. AJ Brown has been awesome. Every time I see him, every time there's an update on the Red Zone channel, it's always AJ Brown just bossing some
Doing
corner
something
and
crazy.
doing something crazy. Gabe Davis put up a big game last night. That's really disappointing for me because that touchdown should have went to Stephon Diggs because Gabe Davis isn't that good. So, but Kenneth Walker too. Cleveland's a really good defense. On the other side, Herbert hasn't really looked that good. Was it last week? Who did they play last week? And he just looked okay. He looked kind of. Oh, they played Kansas City, who's a good defense, but maybe he's just been in tough matchups. Maybe this Chicago matchup will give him an opportunity to have a big game. Olave, when we watched the Thursday night game, he looks terrible. He looks terrible, and then he goes and gets arrested for reckless driving.
Okay.
So,
He was going. Did you read the report?
yeah, he was going 70 and a 35.
70 and a 45. And not drunk, not anything.
Well, maybe the article that I read said he was going 70 and 35 because it said he was going 35 over, and then it said the speed limit was 35, and it's like, oh dang. But yeah, I don't know where that guy's head's at. I don't know if he even wants to be playing football. So that's where I would worry. And then Gibbs, I guess they're saying Montgomery might play this week. That would be nice for me. I wouldn't be able to get him in because if he doesn't play, I would just be host on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
But they're saying he might play, so that could be another downgrade for one of Mark's players. He does have Zay Flowers against Arizona and Sam Laporta against the Raiders. So I think Bizzo and Mark take it as well.
I agree.
That Jefferson injury really is haunting his team.
Yep. Next matchup, we have Stephen Wiggins versus Kyle Kiesel. Purgatory Poppy, is that you? Stephen, obviously, with Mahomes leading the team throughout the year, going to Denver, right? The ball floats a little bit different in Mile High. Weather conditions also an issue there. Despite the Denver defense being fairly suspect, I think third-party conditions are going to affect that game more than anything. I don't see KC just going out trying to run up the score. So I think that Mahomes will get close to his projection, but is not going to go extraordinary and win the week by himself. D. Smith, we've talked about it, just hasn't lived up to that wide receiver 2 tag that we've put him in. And yeah, I do like Kyle's team when they're healthy, when they're flowing. Eckler, Waddle, Kirk. I think that they can do a lot of damage, put up a lot of points. I'm going to go with Kyle's team this week.
You're going with Kyle this week. Yeah, I like his team this week as well. Jared Goff is really good at home. Like you just mentioned, Waddle, I think he has a chance to have a big game. The two Jaguars going against Pittsburgh, they've both been really good this season. And I think I haven't seen anything from Pittsburgh other than one game that shows me that they can actually hold teams out of the end zone. And then Eckler against Chicago. He just has a lot of really good matchups. On the other side, DJ Moore against the Chargers, even though they have a backup quarterback, the Chargers don't stop anybody. Stephen you mentioned the weather in Denver. That's tough. And Mahomes didn't have a great game against Denver the last time they played either. So that's going to put him in a hole. He really needs Mahomes to have a big game if he wants a chance at winning. I really like Breece Hall this week.
Solid.
Brees Hall could win this week for
Yeah.
Steven.
Yep.
Right there. But other than that, I think these lineups are set too. I don't think they're bringing anybody off the bench to come in to get in there. So I think this is what we're looking at here, and it's going to come down to, I guess, Jacoby Myers on Monday night.
Yep.
Oh, and Jared Goff on Monday night. Jacoby Myers versus Jared Goff on Monday night, and it'll come down to that. But I think Kyle's team takes it. I think he has better matchups. That Goff matchup against the Raiders is a really good one.
Yep. All right, our last matchup of the week, Ralphie versus Mr. Mike Medina. Was 5-0 start the year, coming off 2 hard losses. We have been able to get a little preview of what Ralph's team's going to do with that Thursday night game. Obviously, Evans getting that garbage touchdown, Godwin getting a lot of work in that Buffalo defense. Not really living up to the projection, but doing just all right. Love the emergence of Kamara since he's been back in New Orleans. Easily has been a top 3 running back since he's been back. Has anyone found Jacobs as he decided to start playing this season? He's looked a little bit better, but as someone that led the league last year, in terms of all running backs, it's a little bit surprising to see him. I don't think he's cracked the top 10. So
no, he had one really big game.
Yeah, I'm talking about season
week
rankings. He's not
4.
in the top 10 currently.
Oh, I don't think he is, but he had a couple big games in a row there. But yeah, it's the Raiders' entire offense hasn't been very good since Jimmy G got hurt, and they had Brian Hoyer. Jimmy G got hurt, and then the offense didn't do anything that week, and then the following week, they had Brian Hoyer out there, and they didn't do anything that week either. So,
Correct.
So those 2 weeks, I think you can throw out for all the Raiders players, except for Jacoby Myers, who somehow still did his thing. But dude, Ralph's team has been on fire lately. Hurts has been as good a quarterback as any. Jamar Chase coming off the bye, and then he had a couple up and down weeks, right? Yeah, he had a couple. He had a monster
Really
week, and
slow
then
start.
he
He's
had a
had
mediocre
two
week.
top tier weeks.
Yeah.
And now he travels across country, San Francisco. But there's some question marks in that secondary, so we shall see.
Mike's team is back. Like, he's got all of his team there now. So
Yep.
he had Henry and Pollard on a bye against me. I got lucky. But he's got them back in there this week. He's got Darren Waller, who's been really good as well. I think and Kamara against Indianapolis is a
murder.
Yeah. That's a nice little
But on the
nice little
other end of the
matchup there.
Keenan Allen versus Chicago at home. Keenan Allen's gonna fucking rip them. Keenan Allen's gonna have a big week for Keenan Allen. And I see Pollard also getting in the end zone. This is gonna be my favorite matchup of the week. Prediction 122 to 119. 122 to 119.
You're gonna predict the actual score, huh?
122, 119. Mike Medina pulls out the victory.
Okay, interesting. All right. I'm gonna go with Ralph, actually. I'm gonna go with Ralph this week. I think he gets them. I think Jalen Hurts is gonna have a big week against the Commanders. I think Jamar Chase has a big week. And I think Alvin Kamara has a big week. I think those guys just are gonna crush it. And he already had 2 decent games from the Bucks receivers. I think he's gonna have a monster week this week, actually. I think Ralph gets up above that 120 mark that you set for both of kind of an over-under for both these teams. I think Ralph's gonna be above that. I don't know if Mike does, but I think Ralph's team's gonna crush it this week.
Nice. Well, that kind of concludes our review of this
I forgot to bring up 2 things about your team, your matchup.
Okay.
Why do you and Evan both have 2 open roster spots?
Listen, man, I've been a little bit busy. When I woke up on Tuesday, Wednesday, after feeding all night, I wanted to purge my team. So
Okay.
I dropped the players, did not want the dead weight going into Thursday night. Very strategic on my end. There's
Okay.
methods to my madness. Anyway, didn't want the baggage going into the weekend. Those roster spots will be full very soon.
Oh, so this is a team morale thing. Okay. This is you want to
Strictly,
cut the dead weight. You want your team to be just superstars. Okay.
sometimes you have to make statements in the locker room.
So yeah, sometimes you just got to cut a man loose. I get it.
Listen,
And then I didn't touch on it in the recap on your matchup. But Bijan Robinson just didn't want to play for you this week. He was just like, you know
I'm
what?
so glad you brought this up. I'm so glad
He's
you
like, you
brought
know,
this up.
Ian still has me on his roster, and I just don't want to play for him. And he was like, Coach, I have a headache.
So I cannot wait to see the amount of fines that the NFL places on the Atlanta Falcons for complete degradation of the injury report and the reason for it. Like, you're not only affecting, your game, you are impacting the bookies, you're impacting fantasy, millions of people play fantasy football, you're impacting the
He
fans. Like, if
he didn't. Okay. I don't think they get fined at all. Um, because he played him. He just didn't give him the ball. He played like 7 downs or something. And every time from according to the press conference or whatever it was, he said every time he went out there, he said the same thing. He came back out and said, my head hurts, I just can't get into it. And so the fact that he actually played, it's a headache or a migraine or whatever it was. So it's not like a normal injury. They said it started Saturday night. And he tried to play. So there's no he played. So it's there. You don't have to be on the injury report if you play. And how it like, what are you
yeah,
going to
yeah,
disclose it as? Illness.
whatever.
So I think you're going to be disappointed in that aspect. I don't like it. I think they knew it. They knew the night before. They should have disclosed it, but they won the game also.
Yeah, they won the game, or even like maybe not put him like even disclose that he's potentially not going to play. I'm not saying you put him on the injury, put him as questionable. That's the purpose of the questionable tag. You got to put him as out, put him as questionable so that everyone can make an educated decision. They had him as active, fully active. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I get it.
But I mean, it just goes to show you, it's just the organization as a whole in Atlanta. It's a shitty organization.
No, I'm not going to disagree with you. That
All
I'm
right,
not a
brother.
fan of the team. I'm not a fan of the team. I just like the one player.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, I don't like what they did to Michael Vick. I don't like what they did to Michael Vick.
I mean,
Yeah.
Michael Vick did that to Michael Vick.
I don't like what they did to Michael Vick. I know he was responsible. He took responsibility for his actions. I don't like what Atlanta did because they knew all along. They knew what he was into.
They sure did.
Yeah.
They sure did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm fine.
Shout out to Michael Vick.
I love Michael Vick. He was probably one of my favorite player ever to watch play football.
That commercial where he is they have him like in the factory building him up and he like throws a spiral and hits a dude in the chest, dude goes flying back 20 yards. Amazing.
Yeah. The other commercial where they get the Michael Vick experience where they have the guy go in VR and they're just spinning them around and doing all this crazy stuff.
Fucking great. All right, brother. What are you
let's close this out.
Yeah. What are you excited for this week?
I am going to get some dim sum tomorrow morning. So I'm excited for that. And then what was I? There was something else.
Texas play.
Texas plays BYU. I actually might. When I looked the other day, earlier today, the tickets were super cheap, so I might actually go to the game.
Nice.
But there's supposed to be a bunch of Halloween pop-up bars this weekend.
That's right.
So I might check I might check out a couple of those. They sound fun. I know there's one that changed into Moe's Tavern
Okay.
from The Simpsons,
Yeah.
and there's a couple other like where they just go all decked out for Halloween. So I think that might be fun. I might check a couple of those out.
Nice. I completely forgot that it was Halloween weekend. There was a time in my life where this was a cherished weekend for me, right? Like I would
Yeah.
start on Thursday, pretty much just hit party after party after party every night, multiple costume changes. And now I didn't even realize it was Halloween weekend. This is what having a child does to you. You have no idea of what's outside of the spectrum of that child. It's crazy. Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to this week. More bonding. I got some family coming into town this week to visit the baby. That's going to be fun. Looking forward to getting a little bit of sleep today. If Halloween weekend is this weekend, that means my birthday is in like a week and a half. I've completely forgot that it was my birthday in a week and a half. Oh shit!
You don't
Yeah,
get one of
time's
those
flying.
anymore, man.
Yeah, exactly. I don't. Time is flying. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to a couple of things. Might have that glass of wine with my wife tonight. We shall see.
All right, good for you, man. Congratulations again.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, let's have a good weekend. Good luck this week, gentlemen. Good luck to all you this week. You want to hit them with the?
Yeah,
yeah.
make sure you like and subscribe, and Evan is Gary.